Hello everyone, कैसे हैं आप सब? I hope you all are doing fine. So today we are going to start with chapter 5, grade 6 CBSE, and the name of the chapter is Kingdoms, Kings and an Early Republic. So the topics that I intend to cover in today's session are how some men became rulers. As you know, during the Harappa period, we didn't have a lot of rulers. That society was somewhat controlled by the merchants. So today we'll see how this system of election evolved. Then we'll focus more on Janpads. Then we'll talk about Mahajanpads and how did the system of taxes evolve, what kind of taxes were imposed back then, changes in the agriculture, and a closer look at Magdha and Vaji. So let me tell you, we'll also cover the map section. So let's get started. So in today's session, and especially this chapter, there's a very smart kid, as smart as you. His name is Shankaran. So one day this person, he was sleeping and all of a sudden he woke up. And to his surprise, he found his grandparents, his parents, everybody in that hustle bustle. They were all ready to go and vote. So he was quite surprised. Why is it so important to go and contest your opinion, to put forward your opinion? So his parents, they both were so curious to reach to the polling station first where they happened to collect your vote. So his parents were so excited that we need to be the first person. Also, they were carrying an identity card so that later on there is no problem that they have to face. So he was quite curious to know, and his grandfather started to explain him that we can have our elected representatives now. And he wanted to know, was the system same way back? So that brings us to our first topic. Let's help Shankaran to know how some men became rulers. Well guys, it's a very interesting story. As I told you in the last session, there was a group of people, the tribe, whom we used to call as Jana. Jana basically means a tribe, right? People having the same ancestors. So for quite some time, this Jana didn't have rulers. But just around 3,000 years ago, if we go back in the timeline, we happen to see that people, yes, the people started to elect and vote for their representative, whom they started to call as the king. So this person, in Hindi, we also call him as Rajas. So these people, they were there, they were seated there, and they had to be recognized by the public, by the majority of the people. And also he had to perform certain sacrifices to prove his power. Yeah. So I'll tell you one of the very interesting sacrifices that these kings happen to contest or get involved in. Can you see this horse? So let's say this is his territory. This first king's territory is this. And there's this another king who has his territory somewhat here. There's another one who's got here. And there's another one who's got here. So one of the important rituals, which we call it as horse sacrifice, or there's another name to this. It is also called Ashwamedha. Right? So in the later Vedic period, this ritual started. So a horse was let loose and he was asked, not asked in a way, he was let loose, and the distance that he used to travel, even if there's another kingdom that comes in his way, or there's the territory of another king who comes, whose territory comes in his way, and if he does, the other king, suppose this is king 1, who let his horse run the entire territory, and this is king 2. So if this horse enters the second king's kingdom, and this king is not ready to fight, that means this king accepts king 1 to be superior than him. That means he accepts that the first king is stronger than the other kings. So if there's no fight, then of course the kingdom and the entire territory belongs to king 1. And if this horse happens to run in this third king's territory, so definitely if this king is ready to fight to gain control over his territory, and if he loses, then of course king 1 is going to control his territory also. So this is how the kings used to play, right? So once all this was done, so King 1, the Raja, he proved his power. And after that, we used to celebrate victory. King 1 was, a lot of people used to come to his palace. They bought a lot of gifts. So he became the hero, the central figure. And everybody was Vasa, Vasa. Everybody used to make him sit on a very special seat that you might have seen in the movies and all, crowned and then having a special seat. So while all this was happening, of course, the king has to protect the entire set of people from any kind of war or attack from others. So often when this person used to carry his chariot, which means there's a horse attached to a two-wheeler. So what happens is the chariot driver, he often used to come. He was the companion of the king in the battlefield. And let's say this is, you have the horse here, right? So it's being driven by this driver. And this entire is the chariot and this is the charioteer. So definitely the king who was seated here, he had to go there in the battlefield. And once he came victorious, so this person, the person who was riding the horse, he used to come and tell the tales of his victory, and everybody used to celebrate it. May it be king's wife, may it be children, and a lot of minor rituals were also performed where other people, they sat there, started to observe. They were called as spectators. So the people also were included. And then there is sacred water, as you know. So the priest used to sprinkle this sacred water that we happen to now observe nowadays. So the ordinary people, they were called as wish. They used to get gifts for the king that we've got, that we accept your power, you're the supreme. But there are certain set of people who were not allowed to enter this ritual practice. The priest did not regard them as pure. And those set of people who were not included, they were known as Shudras. They were excluded from any kind of religious practice. So now you come to know that how the king proved his power through this amazing exercise that's called Ashwamedha. Now we are going to move on to the next topic, and let's talk of Janapads. Quite interesting name, right? So this Janapad, it means republic, it means kingdom, especially of the Vedic period, kingdom in the Vedic period. Now I'll explain what exactly is this. So as I told you, there was this Raja who had to perform a number of sacrifices. So now this Raja who was ruling this Jana, right, there was a relationship that they established. But once he started to perform all those sacrifices that we happened to read, earlier there was a king who used to rule the Jana and done. But once he started to perform all those sacrifices, now he was considered as the Raja of Janapads with the sacrifices. Which means, now after sacrifices means you are doing something for the people. Okay, na? So as I told you, now Janapad basically means, it means the land. It just means the land on where the Jana, the people, they put their steps. So Raja initially was ruling the people. He was there for the people. Wherever the people would be, he'll be doing that. Now he started to control the land, the territory where the Jana used to live, where they used to settle down. So either they used to live, either they settled down. That area was controlled, and he started to have his territory out there. You get my point? First, there's this Raja who's ruling the Jana. That's okay. Now the Raja and the coming of Janapads, when the Raja started to perform some sacrifices, Then he started to be recognized as the Raja of Janapad, which means the land on which the Jana settled, or the land on which they set their foot. So our archaeologists who study ancient objects, they have managed to find evidence of a lot of Janapads in different parts of India. I'll show you here. So you guys can see these are different Janapads. I am going to talk of some of the very important Janapads here. I'll write their name. So first of all, there's Purana Killa right here, New Delhi. If you see. So here you have Purana Killa. Okay. Then you will see Hastinapur. This is very near to Meerut. Another Janpad. Okay. Then the next one you will see is Atranjikhera. Here. Okay. So this is again Uttar Pradesh, UP. Then there's another one that is known as Ita. So this Ita is also in Uttar Pradesh, somewhere here. Right? So there are 3 in Uttar Pradesh. Atranjikhera, which is in Ita in a way. Okay, so Atranjikhera and Ita, they're very near to each other. Then you have another place, Hastinapur, and then you have another place that's called Delhi mein Purana Killa. So these all, they were important Janapads. I'll write their name. The territories. First is, I told you, Purana Killa. That's in Delhi. Then Itaha. Then Atranjikhera. Then of course Hastinapur. This is N. So these are the territories where the archaeologists found the evidence of existence of Janapads, because they found huts. If it has to be Janapads, and people might have been living there. And the existence of huts, the existence of crops, and the existence of animal bones, it all gives us the idea that yes, people settled here in large groups, and definitely we can call them as those areas and Janapads. Not only this, huts, animals, different crops, but also we happen to find earthen pot of different colors. It could be grey, it could be red in color. So definitely people were involved in different activities back then. We have the earthen pot, special type of pot that could be grey in color, that could be red in color. They were painted beautifully. Either they had very simple lines like this is a pot. Either it had very simple lines like this, or it had some sort of geometric pattern which was like this. Squares, rectangles. That means people were involved into craft. So in the next session, I am going to talk of Mahajanapads. But before I conclude, I want to share with you how the king was seated. This is a special seat of the king. And also this is somewhat what a chariot looks like. And when the king used to come back, these are all the spectators who used to observe him doing all those religious sacrifices. These are some special types of pots found there. So that's all. In case you like the session, please hit subscribe. Do not forget to like, and don't forget to leave your comment. Thank you.